The country we call Pakistan is a bizarre nation. Sometimes it's a comedy of errors. At other times, it's just a comedy. But a whole lot of people get hurt when this amazing creation that came out of United India, and as I often repeatedly say, cut off the limbs of Hindustan to create a nightmare that just doesn't end. Did you know that for most legislation in the Pakistan parliament, if you can call it that, takes a lot of time? For example, if you want to pass a law that gives some relief to ordinary Pakistanis, well, it takes about a couple of years for the law to pass. However, if it's a law that gives extension to the Commander-in-Chief of the Pakistan Forces, General Bajwa, His Eminent Royal Highness and ruler of the Islamic Caliphate of Pakistan, if you want a law that says General Bajwa can rule for another 3 more years, you know how long it takes in the Pakistan Parliament to pass that law? 30 seconds. I'm not kidding. And who votes for this law? How about everybody? Every politician in Pakistan, Muslim League, People's Party, you name it, the National Party, even the Baloch parties. The generals just gave them a stare and they submitted. They say they submit only to Allah, but in this case it's the general, you know. Since 1958 it's been the general, but this time it is so brazen, so naked, so outrageous that the military just didn't even have to pull out its guns. It didn't have to stage a coup. It just entered the room and looked at all these men in silly dressing gowns who come to parliament wearing bizarre clothes. I've never seen them in a formal attire. They always seem to walk straight out of the bedroom. If it's the cricket captain or it's the prime minister, they go straight to do what they have to do. After all, the army runs the country, they wear the uniform. Why should anybody else wear anything? Unless, of course, we made it compulsory for the generals all to wear shalwar kameez, or what Indians call the Punjabi dress. Well, it is Punjabi. Anyway, the law to rule Pakistan as the generals require passed Parliament in 30 seconds and passed the upper house where the opposition is in the majority less than a minute. And then everyone went home, except 2 members of parliament from the Pashtun movement who were not even allowed to raise a single finger of objection. Their cries were overheard. They wanted to raise points of order. None were allowed. Points of personal privilege were denied by the speaker. The speaker himself, it seemed, was sitting on a hot plate and wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. And that's what he did. Less than a minute, the law was passed. The generals now rule Pakistan. But, you know, not to disappoint the Immiantis around the subcontinent, Imran Khan still stays on as prime minister. He and his drapes which hide the genies that live behind it, who talk to his Bibi, who then tells him what to do. I guess the jinns must have said, Daro, Faujiyon se, Daro. And poor guy, dar gaya. This is not new for Pakistan. Its history goes back, you know, to 47. But since that time, the only thing Pakistan has contributed to the rest of the world is killing, radicalism, create Islamic terrorists, export them to the rest of the world. From 9/11, and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who was the brainchild of 9/11, who's a Pakistani, to the 7/7 bombers in London, to the Madrid bombers, to the Bali bombers, to even the 2 British terrorists who shot in Israel. They were also of Pakistani heritage. This is what is the contribution of this country. And dare someone win a Nobel Prize? That Pakistan will not accept. Throw him out of the country. How dare he win a Nobel Prize in physics? No. We won't allow any such, pollution of our silliness. The lack of spine and character of Pakistan's politicians was best described in this picture that you will just see. And this, by the way, came out in the Pakistani press. The big military jackboot crushing the Pakistani parliament. But this is not all. Pakistan was created for a single purpose: to bleed India to death, to carry out what they call Ghazwa-i-Hind, to make sure that every Hindu in Hindustan is, well, of course in Pakistan, is converted to Islam, that every temple is destroyed, and then when the whole world is under one Islamic caliphate, end of civilization and what Muslims call the Roz-e-Qayamat, and then we will all rise from this, what I call the place from where we break our flights and take the final journey to paradise, to find 72 virgins. I don't know if they are male or female, but nevertheless, these 72 virgins await us all. Terrible deeds have been done by this country. You can look up from 1947-48 to the attack on Jammu and Kashmir, to the killing of fellow Muslims, 3 million in Bangladesh, to the continuous bombardment of Balochistan. It's a sad story that one day will come to an end, because Pakistan is not a country, it's an acronym, Pakistan. Unfortunately, even the word Khan, like Hindustan, derives itself from Sanskrit. There is no escape, Pakistan. You're part of the Indian subcontinent. You're not an Arab country. You're not the leftover child, abandoned child of the Turks, nor are you B-grade Persians. You are basically Indians. This is where Punjab and Sindh form part of the Indian civilization. That is why India's national anthem contains the words Punjab and Sindh. It's a different story that Indians are asleep today and can't remember that Punjab and Sindh actually are places, or that Lahore and Kasur are cities named after Lav and Kush, the sons of Ram. Things will soon come to an end, but they will not before, especially Indians, wake up and face the challenge that they, in their own country, have a right to celebrate the 5,000-year-old civilization that is rooted in the Vedas, that is rooted in Sanatan Dharam, that is rooted in Hinduism, and there is nothing guilty about being a Hindu. And Pakistanis will soon come to realize that either they came as invaders, I'm talking even of Indian Muslims, they either came as invaders and plunderers or converted from Hinduism to Islam. In both cases, you either should be ashamed of yourself for celebrating the people who plundered your country, or respect your great-grandfathers who were of Sanatan Dharam. But Pakistan is here as long as we can look around in the near future, and we have to deal with it. One last thing about Pakistan. Just take a look at its logo or its emblem. What do you see over here? 4 squares. Now, Pakistan doesn't grow a blade of tea. It doesn't have a shred of jute growing anywhere in any part of that country. But you will notice in the 4 squares, one shows wheat, that surely Pakistan is a major producer of wheat, and the other shows cotton, of course. We know Punjab produces a lot of good cotton, which it exports. But what's in the other square? Tea and jute. That is Bangladesh's produce. That's what Bangladesh exports and produces and takes pride in. How dare Pakistan take away the products and emblems and symbols of Bangladesh and incorporates it into its own emblem and walks around as if it has no ambition to do anything. Notwithstanding the fact that Pakistan ISI still operates in Bangladesh, and the ISI is helping the Rohingyas get armed so that they can infiltrate India and carry out terrorist activities. That is what Pakistan is. Even their emblem is a lie. Not just a lie, 50% of it is definitely a lie. I hope some sense prevails in the land of the five rivers so they can let go of their hold of Balochistan, Sindh and Pakhtunistan. Inshallah, it will happen. Until then, Khuda Hafiz, Namaskar and Jai Hind.